is Dispatches, a collection of opinion and analysis from the briefing. Today is August 17th, and I'm giving you an update on Rochester's ongoing debate over police funding. Tomorrow, the Rochester City Council will vote on whether to fund a $16 million project to build a police substation and service center in my neighborhood of Beechwood. This substation is one of 3 planned for construction, and it has already displaced a number of families in Beechwood. With our community suffering amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and people in Rochester and across the country calling on us to thoughtfully re-examine the impact of funding policing over investing in community, we must pause and ask ourselves, does this choice meet the needs of our most impacted residents, or will it do more harm? We cannot afford to make this important decision in haste. The national and local outcry spurred by George Floyd's killing calls for us to carefully reconsider the interplay between policing and community safety. We have the opportunity to show that we are paying attention. We need community safety policies that are data-driven and centered around the needs of those who are directly impacted. Community members grappling with the vast life challenges of this pandemic have not been able to weigh in on whether this new police substation is a smart use of our limited resources. In June, we embarked on creating a racial instructional equity commission tasked with examining our inequality, including in community, their forthcoming recommendations in deciding whether to fund these new police substations. To move forward with this vote tomorrow, Tuesday, would be a reckless decision that ignores critical concerns of the community. We must thoroughly investigate if this police substation, to be erected within a vital community space, would make residents feel safer or less safe. We must weigh the impact of spending millions more dollars, which is the equivalent of our entire library budget for the whole year, on policing, even as Rochester faces immense financial challenges and our communities of color, including the one in which the substation will be built, are being disproportionately harmed by the pandemic. Bonding $12.6 million for this building would increase police funding while leaving our community's critical needs unmet, forsaking the education of our children, food security, and assistance for those facing the loss of their homes. We cannot proceed with this vote in good conscience without first ensuring that the voices of the impacted community members are heard and that we are prioritizing our community's needs in our budget decisions. I ask that my fellow council members listen to the community and delay the vote so that we can survey residents to make sure that this is the choice that is the right one and the just one. We should not be investing more in policing. We should be investing more in housing, in education, and healthcare. Rochester's renters are facing an evictions crisis because of this pandemic. And with only 12 days until a comprehensive moratorium on evictions expires, without city intervention, we will likely unleash the first wave of the greatest eviction tsunami the city has ever seen. We are at a major turning point. The question is whether the city of Rochester will come out of COVID-19 and this moment of global resistance stronger and more equitable, or weaker and with more poverty and inequity. We cannot afford mass evictions and homelessness ever, let alone during a pandemic. 65% of Rochester residents are tenants, and over 70% of those tenants are Black or brown. Tenant protections are one of the most important anti-racist policies we can enact locally. President Trump is not going to intervene. Governor Cuomo and the legislature are only kicking the can down the road. At this moment, only municipal government, in partnership with the community, can intervene to preserve the stability of our community. We are calling on the City of Rochester to enact the tenant union's full package of legislation, the Rochester COVID-19 Housing Stabilization Act, which includes the following. 1, canceling all back rent for all of Rochester residents, like the resolution recently passed in Ithaca. They called for and urged federal and state representatives to support rent cancellation legislation. 2, to stop all eviction filings, judgments, and warrants until at least 30 days after the public health state of emergency has ended. 3, give all tenants the right to organize and renew their lease or tenancy through the good cause eviction protection law. This law would prohibit landlords from evicting tenants or refusing to renew leases unless landlords can show good cause, like illegal use of the property or ongoing failure to pay rent. 4, pass the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, which would allow all tenants the first right of refusal to buy the buildings that they live in. 5, initiate the vacancy study passed in December by City Council, which paves the way for allowing rent stabilization in Rochester. If we do these things instead of funding more police, Rochester residents will have a chance to stay in their homes and receive the kinds of support and services that they need during this pandemic. I'm Rochester City Council member Mary Lupian, and this has been Dispatches from the briefing.